"You're getting better," Marcus said. Marcus had said it many, many times before, but each time I heard it, I believed it a little less. I'd been trying for weeks, but I didn't seem to be getting any better. I wanted to learn. I had wanted to learn magic since I was 6, but just didn't seem to have an affinity for it. Winter was finally coming to an end, it seemed, and spring was right around the corner. Before long, it would be time for sowing crops and basking in the sun, but winter seemed to be digging its fingers in this year. It was well past the time for things to warm up, but sometimes winter would insist upon itself, and the chill just wouldn't leave without a fight. Grandpa was sitting on the porch, bundled up and coughing irregularly. I knew Marcus was hoping that warmer weather would help with that cough, but winter seemed to be intent on making the groundhogs earn their keep this year. "Okay, try to stop this next one. Remember, it's just a shield that you form in front of you to keep anything from touching you. Form it in your mind and push." I tried, shaking a little as I tried to make the shield. I'd been having some luck slowing down the things that Marcus threw at me, but I had yet to stop anything. There hadn't been any snow in a while, so the snowballs had stopped coming about a month ago. Marcus had thought about pine cones for half a second, but we had agreed that those looked like they would hurt. Baseballs had been his next pitch. See what I did there? But if you've never been hit by a slightly less fast fastball, then you know it doesn't feel real great. We had finally settled on those rubber balls that people use for wall ball, and they were okay. They stung a little, but it was a small price to pay for protection. "Why don't you boys take a break?" Grandpa called. "I've got iced tea." Marcus looked at me, and I nodded, the two of us mounting the porch as we went to sit with him. Grandpa was drinking a tall glass of tea himself, and after a couple of hours of getting rubber balls thrown at me, I was glad to take a break. The tea was sweet and cold, and as I sat back, I smacked my lips in satisfaction. "So how are your runes coming?" Grandpa asked. "Pretty good," I answered. Marcus shook his head. "Better than all right. He's a natural, Gramps. His runes are way smoother than mine." "Yeah," I said, trying to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. "They would be if I could get energy into them." I could put out energy. I'd done it before, but engaging the runes took a particular focus. You had to put intention behind it, and I wasn't sure how to do that. Marcus had told me to imagine I was filling a water bottle with water that came from my palm. But visualizing something, while having no idea what I was doing, was difficult. "So, I heard someone found a lost kid a couple of weeks back. They say the kid was in the stairwell," Grandpa added with a little wink. I laughed. I had some help. "Run up on any boogans in there?" Marcus asked, his glass already half empty. "Just my old friend, the orderly," I said, glad I had found him. He was trying to help the kid, but the kid was kind of freaked out by him. "It is hard to look upon a guide in his true form and not feel a sense of dread and foreboding." Grandpa always says they look off. When Lovecraft talks about strange geometry, I have to think that he saw one of them somewhere. They can be helpful, but they can often fall victim to hubris, I've heard. They decide that they can use their powers to gain more power, and for that, they're often damned, Marcus said. "Who do they serve?" I asked, leaning in with real interest. Glimmer had her hackles up when she saw him, and it takes a lot to get her riled. Grandpa laughed. "I imagine she would be a little upset at the presence of one of them. Moon children are long-lived, and they fight death and its servants tooth and nail. As to who they serve, well, that's open to debate. Death is a natural end to things, and the guides are an extension of that. Some believe they serve evil, but most are simply gray. They do their job, and they return to their homes when not guiding. They are what they are, and it's hard for them to be anything else. We sat and let that sink in for a minute, the sun feeling good as it peeked through the trees. "How's that woman that came out of the stairwell?" Marcus asked. "Did you say she came back to the hospital?" I nodded. "Frankie," I said, feeling a smile on my face as I said it. "And yeah, she decided to come back and take up her old position. It's been a process, but I think she's learning it pretty quickly." Marcus smiled knowingly. "Sounds like she's got a good teacher. It also sounds like you don't mind too much." "Sounds like our little mageling might be smitten," Grandpa said, cutting through the fat. I made a rude noise. "No, that would be highly inappropriate, for one, and for two," I paused, chewing over the reasoning. "For two, she's like a fish out of water. I'd feel bad taking advantage of her like that." "And what if she didn't feel the same way?" Grandpa asked. I thought about some of the smiles we had exchanged lately, the coy remarks, the lingering looks, but I shook my head. No, it couldn't be. This is real life, not some movie. "Right," Marcus said, "because real people fight ghosts and use magic." I rolled my eyes at him. "She must be brave," Grandpa said suddenly. "I think she is." "I wasn't asking, kid," Grandpa said. "To go back into a place that stole your life and your time and just work every day next to the device that could take it again, that takes grit. This girl sounds like she's got moxie. You could do worse, kid." "I think that's enough talk about my love life, or lack of one," I said, finishing my tea. "Let's get back to the real magic. I'd like to feel like I'm making some progress here." Marcus nodded, getting up and draining his glass before putting it down. "A moment, kid," Grandpa said, and it took a moment for me to realize he meant me. Like moon elves, it seemed that Grandpa could give nicknames too. Marcus was son, and it seemed I was to be kid. Marcus went down to stretch a little and collect his rubber ball, and I stood beside Grandpa as he thought about how to proceed. "I've been watching you, kid. You've got the magic, but I think it's different than my grandson's." "What do you mean?" I asked, not understanding. "Well, Marcus forms magic to use it. He makes the walls and the shields and the curtains of air, the walls of flame and things like that. He can use it in other ways, but generally he puts his magic in front of him. Your magic, however, isn't like that. I can see it. Your magic is like a whip. You extend it out, but it's not as durable as his. Your magic is more precise, but it's also less defensive. Try this," he said, and he pointed his finger like a gun. "When Marcus throws the ball, shoot at it like you would with a gun. Shoot it out of the air instead of blocking it, and see if that doesn't help." I shrugged. "I'll try." "Try not," Grandpa said in a passable Yoda impression. "Do or do not. There is no try." I laughed. Don't expect any backpack rides from me anytime soon, but I will try. I stepped up before Marcus as he prepared to throw. He took his best pitcher's mound stance and even adjusted a make-believe hat and shook his head a few times as if he were looking for signs before throwing the ball at me. I extended my finger, looking like a kid playing cowboy when he's too broke to afford a cap gun, and pulled the trigger. I jumped a little as I felt something, a whisper maybe, passed through my finger gun before grunting as the ball whumped against me. "No," Grandpa said, getting up so he could lean against the porch rail. He started to speak, but coughed instead before hacking and spitting into the grass. "No, not like that. Do you wonder if the bullet is going to come out of the gun? Do you question if the arrow is going to come from the bow? No, because you loaded it. Load your gun and shoot, and trust that it will fire." "Gramps, what are you—" Marcus started, but Grandpa shushed him before returning to his seat. "Get your ball and try again. John, feel the energy, push it out, and trust in yourself. You have the power. Now show us what you already know." Marcus came to get the ball, and I looked at my hand as I tried to decide how to begin. Well, like I always had, I supposed. I'd been shooting with Dad and my own grandpa since I was very young, and it always began the same way. You had to load the gun, or it wasn't going to work. I looked at my hand, and then I did something I hadn't done before. I closed my eyes, and I opened my sight. The hand was still just a hand, but I could see a faint glow around it. I'd been using the sight to see ghosts for so long that I never imagined I could use it for other things. Sure enough, though, I could see the energy in my hand like a tube of neon. Across from me, I could see Marcus as he practically glowed with energy, and most of it seemed to reside in his midsection. I thought about it and pulled some of my own energy from my core. It flowed up my arm like soda to a straw, and as the ball came at me, I pointed and squeezed. There was a sound like a tin can hitting the ground, and the ball flew off in the opposite direction. We just stood there, looking at each other in surprise, before Marcus whooped and pumped an arm in the air. "That was brilliant! I can't believe you did that. It took me ages to figure that out." Grandpa laughed from the porch. "His power is different than yours, son, just like my power is different than yours. Powers are unique, like I told you. Now that you know how to train him, get started." The next 30 minutes switched from blocking practice to target practice. I could have gladly gone on all afternoon, but after about 20 minutes, I was out of breath. Pushing that much energy out took a toll, and I was beginning to see. And the shots got less and less potent the longer I pushed at them. After a half hour, I was out of breath, and I could feel the sweat building on my arms. Grandpa told us to knock off and have some more tea, and I was more than happy to oblige. "You made some real progress," he said, putting one of the runes from earlier on my knee. "You should have much more luck with these now." I picked it up and saw that he was right. Loading the runes was similar to loading the gun, and I could see the energy as it flowed through it. It was like flipping on a switch, and I could tell what Grandpa had been talking about all this time. Now that I could see the energy, I could see how to move it, and I couldn't unsee it. I leaned back as Grandpa set off on another one of his stories and felt a deep satisfaction, a sense of accomplishment. Magic is hard, like most things that are worth having, but when you finally discover the secrets of the universe, it's pretty cool. "I never imagined I would see 2 practitioners in my lifetime," Grandpa said, and Marcus chuckled as he set his tea glass down. "You've got plenty of time left, Gramps. You might have time to see your great-grandkids learn a few things before your time comes." "Here's hoping," Grandpa said, and I would think about this later and feel a deep sense of unease and sorrow. The look he gave the horizon didn't seem too hopeful.